Hello and welcome back. Today I need to tell you something most men never want to hear. She's not yours. She was never yours. It was just your turn. That sentence stings because deep down you believed in the illusion. You believed in love. You believed she loved you for who you are. But what if I told you that love the way you imagine it isn't real? That it's a trick of biology, not some divine connection. Schopenhauer didn't see love as sacred. He saw it as a trap, a survival mechanism disguised in poetry. And if you don't wake up from this illusion, you'll keep getting played again and again. This isn't about bitterness. This is about clarity, about freedom, about reclaiming your power by seeing the brutal truth exactly as it is. Because once you stop chasing what was never real, you become untouchable. Now, speak out and comment below. I see things as they are not as I wish them to be. 1. The nature of women: pragmatic, not idealistic. You were taught to believe she loves you for your soul, that loyalty is her nature, that if you give her your heart, protect her, sacrifice for her, she will stay. But the truth is far colder. She doesn't choose based on your poetry, your kindness, or your pain. She chooses based on value, on survival, on necessity. Schopenhauer didn't romanticize women, he exposed their biological realism. He said women are not guided by moral virtue or higher loyalty. They are guided by what he called biological necessity. What does that mean? It means she stays with you if you're useful. And she walks when you're not. Not because she's evil, because that's what nature demands of her. So when you ask why did she leave, the answer is not because you weren't kind enough. It's because you were no longer strong enough, no longer dominant, no longer an asset. Your presence no longer served her reproductive or social interests. That's the brutal calculus of nature. It doesn't reward intention, it rewards utility. And if you build your identity around being the nice guy, the man who bends over backwards to keep her happy, you will lose her every time. She's not wired to love you for who you are. She's wired to love you for what you represent. And when that representation fades, whether it's your ambition, your strength, or your confidence, so does her attraction. You might find that harsh, but it's reality, and reality is the foundation of your freedom. If you want to be respected, you must stop begging for loyalty. Start living as if loyalty must be earned, not expected. The Stoics knew this. Seneca warned, "The wise man is not deceived by appearances. When you see through illusion, when you strip away the fantasy, you finally become free." Because once you stop asking, "Why doesn't she love me for me?" and start asking, "Am I living a mission that commands respect?" everything changes. Now speak out and comment below. I earn respect, not beg for loyalty. 2. The myth of female innocence. You think she's innocent, gentle, morally superior, that she wouldn't hurt you unless you did something wrong. But Schopenhauer stripped away that illusion. He saw the mask and what lies beneath it. She learned to cry not because she's weak, but because your biology responds to tears. She learned to act fragile because men instinctively protect what appears delicate. And she learned to pretend confusion because it disarms your anger. This is not conscious evil. It's unconscious strategy. Evolution sculpted her to survive, and she survives by influence, not force. She doesn't need to overpower you. She needs you to surrender willingly, through sympathy, through guilt, through the story you told yourself. She would never do that, but she would, and she has. You just weren't ready to admit it. You see, innocence is her greatest weapon. It allows her to cheat and still look pure, to betray and still receive sympathy, to manipulate and still be seen as the victim. And society protects that image. It tells you, real men don't question women, so you don't. and you suffer silently while she walks away clean. But Schopenhauer saw it clearly. He called women masters of concealment, not out of hatred but out of clarity. They're not evil, they're adapted. They're biologically designed to thrive through subtlety, not brute strength. And once you understand that, you stop feeling betrayed and start seeing reality. Stoicism demands this kind of clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "See things for what they are. When you do, the pain lessens." Because pain is often just the death of an illusion, and no illusion is more deadly than the idea that she is incapable of deceit. When you accept that, you stop being the victim, you become the observer, and from that position, you gain power. So stop asking why would she lie and start seeing how easily she does it when it serves her interest. Now comment below, I choose truth over comfort. 3. Love is a biological illusion. You were told love is eternal, sacred, that it binds two souls into one forever. But Schopenhauer says otherwise. He calls it what it really is, an illusion crafted by nature, dressed in poetry and sold to you as destiny. You believed she loved you for who you are, that her eyes saw your soul, that her words were eternal promises. But what if love is just instinct wrapped in sentiment? What if her affection was never about you, but about what you represented at that moment? Protection status, strength genes. Nature doesn't care about your feelings. Nature only wants one thing: reproduction. That's why love feels so intense. It has to. If it didn't burn, we wouldn't risk so much to pursue it. Schopenhauer said, love is nature's trick. It hijacks your mind, clouds your judgment, and gets you to act against your best interest, all in the name of preserving the species. She loved you when you were strong, when you had purpose, confidence, or ambition, when your presence improved her odds of survival or status. But when you faltered, when you lost direction or slipped into neediness, her instincts whispered, find better. And her feelings faded as if by magic. You think she changed? No, she didn't. She was always following a script deeper than morality, deeper than logic. It's called evolutionary psychology. Her biology searches constantly for the most viable mate. If that stops being you, she detaches, not with cruelty, but with natural inevitability. You call it betrayal, she calls it growth. And yet you still hope. You replay old memories. You think, maybe she meant it then. Maybe it was real. But that's the final illusion. Love isn't false because she never felt it. Love is false because its root isn't eternal, it's situational. It's biochemical. It's conditional on you remaining the man she needs, not the man you are. This is where Stoicism steps in. Epictetus reminds us, you suffer not because of events, but by your judgment of them. If you believe love is sacred and eternal, her departure feels like death. But if you understand it as nature's trick, you can grieve, then grow. You stop chasing the ghost of what was. You stop begging for what cannot return. And you start living with power, not because you have her, but because you have yourself. So what's the alternative? Become untouchable. Love deeply if you must, but with eyes open. Expect impermanence. Prepare for change. Build yourself so powerfully that if she leaves, she only takes herself, not your identity. Schopenhauer wasn't cynical. He was free. He saw through the mirage and chose strength over sentiment. So should you. Now speak out and comment below. I see through the illusion. I choose clarity over comfort. 4. The emotional tactics. She cries. She says she's confused. She tells you, it's not you, it's me. And deep inside, a part of you wants to believe it because you were raised to protect her pain, not question its purpose. But Schopenhauer urges you to pause, observe, and understand. These displays of emotion aren't always signs of vulnerability. Sometimes they're tools of control. You've seen it. She tears up right when you try to set a boundary. She acts distant for days, only to return with affection the moment you threaten to walk away. It feels like a pattern. That's because it is. Not out of malice, but out of instinct. Schopenhauer saw women as deeply adaptive, evolved to survive in a world where power once belonged to men. Without brute strength, they learned to master emotion. Tears became weapons, weakness became influence, and guilt, it became a chain binding you to compliance. This isn't a call to hate her. It's a call to see her clearly, to understand that her manipulation, subtle, fluid, often unconscious, is a survival strategy passed down through generations. When she says, "You never listen," after you challenge her logic, she's not always seeking truth. She's often seeking dominance, emotional dominance. Modern culture reinforces this dance. When a man sets a boundary, he's called cold. When a woman withdraws affection, she's finding herself. You are taught to give in, to be understanding, to prove your love by abandoning your power. But each time you surrender, she sees less of the man she once respected. You were not made to be tamed. Stoicism teaches you to recognize what is within your control, your mind, your responses, your boundaries, and to let go of the rest. Seneca says, "The wise man is not swayed by emotion, not because he is heartless, but because he refuses to be ruled." The next time she cries as you speak your truth, hold steady. The next time she shames you for your distance, stay silent and grounded, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. You are not her emotional puppet. You are not a fixer of storms you didn't create. Recognize the game, but don't play it. Love her? Yes. Care if you choose. But do so from a place of strength, not guilt, not fear, not the illusion that her tears always mean truth. Now speak out and comment below. I choose strength over guilt. I protect my peace. 5. The cost of oversacrifice in love. You gave her everything. Your time, your attention, your strength. You canceled plans to be with her. You silenced your opinions to avoid conflict. You made her the sun around which your world revolved. And now you sit in silence, wondering why she feels nothing for you anymore. Schopenhauer warned you, when a man sacrifices himself too much, he doesn't become more loved, he becomes invisible. There's a brutal irony here. The more you give up your power for her, the less she respects you. She might say she wants devotion, empathy, gentleness, but watch what she responds to. It's not sacrifice, it's sovereignty. She craves the man who stands tall in his path, not the one who kneels to hers. When you turn her into your purpose, you lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, she loses the magnetism that drew her to you in the first place. Women are not attracted to the man who asks for permission to speak. They're drawn to the man who speaks because he knows what he stands for. Stoicism says, focus only on what's in your control, your thoughts, your values, your direction. You are not responsible for making her happy at the cost of your own soul. When you abandon your mission to keep her close, you betray your nature and she feels it. This isn't about being cold. It's about being complete. It's about choosing a life where love is a complement, not a crutch. You can care for her, laugh with her, support her, but never at the expense of your backbone. Psychology calls this self-abandonment. You trade your authenticity for acceptance. You become agreeable, safe, accommodating, and in doing so, you extinguish the fire she once admired. And when that fire dies, so does her desire. So stop apologizing for having boundaries. Stop chasing her approval like it's oxygen. You are not here to orbit her needs. You are here to live your mission with or without her applause. The more you stand in your truth, the more you rise in value. And if she walks away, let her. Because the man who loses himself to keep her will always lose her anyway. Now, speak out and comment below. I choose mission over validation. I lead from within. 6. The liberation from illusion. She was never yours. That's the first truth you must digest, not with bitterness but with clarity. Schopenhauer didn't write to make you hate women. He wrote so you would stop hating yourself for loving blindly. Love, in his view, is not a spiritual reward. It is nature's cunning strategy to propagate the species. Once that work is done, the illusion fades, and so does she. The pain you feel right now, abandonment, betrayal, rejection, it's not because she left. It's because you clung to a lie. You believed she would stay forever, that her loyalty was unconditional, that love was sacred. But in her world, love is conditional on advantage. It's practical, it's adaptive, and when the benefit disappears, so does the affection. And you know what? That doesn't make her evil. It makes her natural, biological, real. Now that you see clearly, what will you do with that vision rage against her no? That's still bondage. The Stoic path is not bitterness, it's liberation. You see, once you understand that she was never yours, that it was only your turn, you can release her with grace. You can stop mourning what was never meant to be permanent. You can reclaim the energy you wasted on obsession, confusion, and grief, and redirect it into something indestructible, your purpose. Schopenhauer taught us to question the myth. Stoicism teaches us to let go of it. The wise man doesn't seek salvation in her eyes. He builds it within. He doesn't beg to stay. He chooses to walk away, not because he doesn't care, but because he finally does, for himself. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming sovereign, untouchable. You no longer chase, plead, or compromise your core. You lead your life with conviction. You no longer define your worth by her presence. You define it by how unshaken you remain in her absence. Psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, when a man after deep loss rises with deeper strength. He no longer fears being alone. He welcomes it. He doesn't need a woman to feel whole because he's finally met himself. And here's the secret. The more you live like this, not for her, but for truth, the more you become the man no woman wants to lose. So if you've seen through the illusion, don't crawl back into it. Stand up, rebuild, reclaim. Now speak out and comment below. She was never mine. I was always free. 7. The awakening from pain to clarity. Pain is not the end. It's the beginning if you let it be. When she walked away, it shattered the story you wrote in your head. You thought love would save you, that loyalty was enough, that being good, kind, present, and supportive would guarantee she'd stay. But when she left, when the connection died and her eyes no longer saw you, the same, you were left with the truth, naked and brutal. Love does not obey fairness. That moment of collapse, that's your awakening, not your death, because now finally you have no choice but to look life in the eye. No more romantic illusions, no more Hollywood fairy tales, just you and the raw, unfiltered reality of female nature, of human nature. Schopenhauer saw this as the final freedom, the collapse of illusion. He said, we forfeit 3/4 of ourselves to be like other people, and love is often the mask men wear to pretend to hope, to avoid solitude. But solitude is where you meet your real self, the self that doesn't need her validation. Pain invites you there. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining loss before it happens, so you are never caught off guard. If you had seen her departure as a possibility, not a betrayal, it would have hurt. but it wouldn't have broken you. Now it's too late for prevention, but it's not too late for transformation. You sit alone. You question everything. And in that questioning, something divine emerges. Clarity. You begin to see that she didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because you didn't see yourself, because you thought she would complete you when she was only meant to accompany you temporarily. You loved blindly. Now you must live consciously. No more blaming her. No more blaming yourself. No more clinging to what was never secure. This pain, if you honor it, is your path to rebirth. From this moment forward, you stop chasing love. You start building meaning. You become the man who is complete on his own, and that man, ironically, is the only one who ever experiences love as a gift, not as oxygen. Now speak out and comment below. My pain woke me up. I will not sleep again. 8. Becoming irreplaceable, not by her, but by life. You want her back. Let's be honest. You want to prove you're worthy. You want to show her what she lost. You want to become so powerful, so magnetic, so sharp that she regrets ever walking away. And that's fine as long as it's the fire that lights your journey, not the chain that binds you. Because the goal isn't to be irreplaceable to her, it's to be irreplaceable to life itself. What does that mean? It means building a version of yourself so rare, so complete, so aligned with truth, discipline, and purpose that no woman, no setback, no betrayal, no abandonment can reduce you. Schopenhauer warned that men become weak when they live for the gaze of women, when their pride is tied to approval, when their worth is rented, not owned. But when you detach your identity from how she sees you and root it in how you walk, think, build, and command reality, you shift the game. You stop asking, how can I get her to love me again? You start asking, how can I love a life that doesn't depend on her presence? That's when you grow. Not in a bitter, closed-off way, but in a sacred, sovereign, stoic way. You master your time. You sculpt your body. You elevate your mind. You surround yourself with warriors, mentors, books, stillness, ambition. You face the silence and mold it into power. And when she returns, or someone like her, you will not tremble. You will not bend. You will not beg. Because you are no longer the man who needed her. You are the man she never truly saw until it was too late. And even then, you will not gloat. You will simply walk as all kings walk, with eyes forward, not backward. Because your mission isn't her, its legacy, its impact, its truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Be that man. Be rare. Be self-contained. Be undeniable." Now comment below. I build what no one can take away. So now you see what you called love may have been a lesson in disguise, a test of your blindness, a mirror for your weakness, but also a doorway to your strength. She was never yours, not really. She was a moment, an echo of biology, a season written by nature, not destiny. And once that season ends, clinging only leaves you cold. But from the ashes of illusion, a new man can rise. Not the man who begs, not the man who breaks, but the man who builds. The man who doesn't chase love but commands respect. The man who knows happiness is not found in her arms, it's forged in solitude, sharpened by pain and crowned by purpose. You are that man now, or you're becoming him, one quiet step at a time. So if this message struck a chord deep in your chest, don't let it fade.